Welcome back. You're watching Standing on Guard. We're keeping an eye on the enemy. We're looking at the system. What truly is the system here in the country? So many names coming to the fore, of course, on to the public lexicon as far as deep state is concerned, system is concerned. And this is what we are getting granular on with our panelists here on Standing on Guard. Before we took a short break, I think we were to hear from Brigadier and Ambassador. Let's hear from Brigadier.
Thank you, Diba. What I want to say is that we are discussing issue at the top, but essentially that is the reflection of what is in our society. That when you have this issue of you can't agree anymore, is upon you, the deputy, say, well, we can't work together, I'm leaving. In the same token, go down a bit, in our institutions, where you have an individual who has made major offenses, who has been involved in corruption, and is so clear and cannot give way to allow for investigations. He cannot, and that is in our culture. He stays on, he interferes with the investigations until he's told, go. I think what we are seeing at the top, really, is what happens at the lower level, where you can't go until it is eventually a departure. And I feel that we're still to see the end of this. We're still to see. It will be historic how this ends. But I'm not surprised that almost all of us are clear how it will end. To me, it better end early and not wait for the final whistle. Thank you.
All right.
I think I want to build on what Peter said when he wanted to unpack, and they did very well, this word system and deep state. You know, aside from talking of the government, even a political party, and I think it's good to borrow from the leave of what's happening in the Democratic Party in the US, and Bernie Sanders gives a classic case. You know, the Democratic Party has values they believe in. And that forms the core of the party beliefs and the majority of the people. Sanders is on the left, and there are some who are also on the right, extreme right. But how does the system kick in? If you go, for instance, the Democratic Party in America, it has what you call superdelegates and all that. When they were now doing these nominations and they realized that Sanders could easily clinch the ticket, the Democratic Party core values of the systems, the super delegates came in and said, no, we cannot allow this man because he doesn't represent us. So the deep state is that core which moves the soul and the value of the state to make sure that the state stays together. And for whatever value it may be, it may not necessarily that it is representing the people's intentions or people's aspirations, but that is what keeps that state together. And the state is more than just an individual. And so when you move away from it, you are brought into check. And that's why you can see the Obamas, everybody else rallied in and asked everybody else to resign, including, you know, Bloomberg, that let's now zero in and get a candidate that can beat Trump. And so even for this, people watch a nation and they say, in fact, when you are making pronouncements in the state, people will watch you and they say, are you going to maintain stability of the state? If you assume power, what posture are you likely to get? And I always worry when I see our leaders standing, they always look irritated, calling names. You scare people. And I think this is something that they should learn. You ask the question, what is the role of PBI? PBI, to me, has come at an opportune time. In 2006, 2005, a study was done on Kenya, APRM. He was part of deep state then, he realized it. And they went through that.
Who was part of a deep state?
This one here.
You will tell us more.
Yeah, and actually, there were pointers which showed that Kenya, if they held elections in 2007, there would be clashes. And I think this is the value of PPI. If you see at the very core of PPI, they're saying, let us address what that helps Kenya.
So there was a warning before.
Every election.
Yeah, there was a warning before even the 2007 elections. Yeah.
Every election we fight. Let's solve this. And I thought, if I was deputy president, I would have understood what Uhuru is up to and support this cause. But I think he came with an attitude that this is my turn. I'm entitled. I helped you become president. So if you don't give me my turn, pronouncements were, then we were going to revolt. And even as Kenyans, you ask yourself, what is the point of having an election when people they already, I'm elected, this is my turn? That is the wrong politics. This is the wrong state that we are going.
But it's very important also, some
Yes.
of the pronouncements that we make
Exactly.
very, in a very cavalier way that people take so dearly.
Yes.
So it is all about managing expectations. Because of
Exactly.
course that was the expectation after you complete your term. Then you'll pass the baton as it was agreed. Of course, they'll go through the elections and they'll try and
Then there's no
steamroll
need
him.
to have the elections.
Yeah, correct.
There's no need to have elections.
So decided.
No, Midamba.
But my point is, Kenyans should look at us this morning and listen to us very carefully. And Kenyans, every single person ought to sit back wherever, drink your porridge, sit under the tree, and peel off banana and ask yourself what is important for me. Because the language and all the stuff we are using here is not helpful for the ordinary Kenyan to understand and what is being said outside. The issue is simple. Barack Obama said it takes years and toil to create a true union. And there's no country in the world that has created a true union. So all of us are on a journey. You can throw in democracy, use any word you use, but the point is we are on a long journey and we cannot woodwick Kenyans every moment about, we need to take 9 bread out of 10. If we don't have 9, we cannot be happy. So you retreat back to tribalism, and tribalism create commotion, and commotion disrupt our development. BBI is about 2 things, in my opinion. Forget all this other stuff. Get rid of corruption at all levels, wherever we are. And you cannot have harmonized the country, you cannot bring the ethnic groups together unless we get rid of corruption. And so that should be the focus. Forget who's get power to what, at what extent. And the point is we have a country with which we need to harmonize and which we need to move forward. We are among nations. Everybody is watching us. And so all these shenanigans about my, I don't have power. Every president in the world has what's called kitchen cabinet. Every leader, I am as a CEO, I know who I can count on to get the work done. There's nothing wrong with that. The point is respect.
Right. Let me just speak also on you, Peter Kagonyi, to tell us more. When we're looking at the system, because now we've abstractly talked about the system, how then does it spread its tentacles in different spheres of governance or different spheres of a country? In the business environment, we can talk about the security as well, apparatus. We can talk about the political sphere. We can also keenly look also on maybe the civil society, the parachurch ministries, the churches as well, faith-based organization. How does the system hold these elements, together and control them? Make us understand.
First and foremost, let's say that globally, the concept of democracy is contested. It's a value-loaded interpretation.
Democracy, they say it's an illusion.
It's
a mirage. You cannot actually grab it. As far as we go.
Mirage is okay, because if you don't have that illusion, if you achieve it, then why go for it? So you set higher standards so that every day you walk towards that end game. So democracy is simply that, a vision that generations and generations will work towards. And there's no day you wake up and say, here comes democracy, I have it. No, you can't, because that would be the end of the world.
Correct.
Because you have to have something you are aspiring to.
So what is democracy?
Therefore, democracy is simply an interpretation. The kind of democracy we are talking about is as old as 1776, the American Revolution, what we are calling liberal revolutions in America and France. That's what gives us the current aspirations, where the individual is the most important actor in a democracy. Now, when you look at the other side of democracy, the Eastern democracy, we are talking about the community, what Professor Beatty would say, I am because we are, and because we are, I am. That's not the same idea you get from Western individualism, where I am because I am. You know,
the
Ubuntu versus Western individualism. Therefore, the interpretation of democracy is where humanity, either individually or collectively, achieve their common aspirations. You have your freedoms to realize yourself, but you're working within a constrained environment because your rights end where the rights of others finish. But let me make this point. Even though we say democracy is an illusion, there is something we expect from it as we live. First, the morality of things, that there must be some form of morality. Democracy is twined up with two other concepts that are now giving us all this trouble. One is capitalism, because democracy and capitalism are going hand in hand, particularly in the liberal sense. The second is market. Now, when you say democracy, capitalism, and the market, what makes them succeed is morality. What is falling apart in Kenya is where we have Democrats who are not respecters of morality that underpins capitalism. You want to be rich because you occupy a position, you want to be corrupt, and you want also to be not reachable.
But this will gravitate the debate even much further to issues to do with the relativity of morality. What is moral to you? There's no moral bar that is a standard to everyone.
No.
Right?
But Debal, if I could just interject for just 1 second.
Yes.
Debal,
let him finish, then we come to you. Let him just finish so that we don't lose that track of thought.
No, there is no shortcut to what you can call public morality. There is no alternative to it. For example, it is wrong in law and in morality to steal from public coffers, because that's our common resource.
Thank you.
It's wrong to kill.
Thank you.
Debal,
Well, you'll still come back to the system because you haven't answered my question.
Debal, I just want to, Debal, if we can make this.
Allow me to actually rope in Dr. Mustafa, because he will be leaving shortly. So we'll have also the well of time. Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debal, democracy comes from the word demokratia. It's a Greek word, and it's the Greeks that started democracy. And in the best fashion of direct democracy, representative democracy, where individuals...
Which we all agree.
That's right.
Yeah, which we all agree. But what we're saying is...
it's not an event.
If you listen,
Absolutely.
If we try and grab democracy, that will be the end of the world.
Yeah.
And we're asking, is democracy truly a mirage, that we cannot achieve it? Then it's something which will always be making
we cannot have a perfect democracy. And as Professor Kagonja is saying, it's not an event, it's a process. We are continuously aspiring to move and to get to that ideal of where each and every individual or a collective actually contribute to the discussions and agreements and consensus building of what kind of a society we want to have. And even the Americans have not even reached there. I remember Trump got minority votes. Hillary Clinton beat Trump to the popular vote. And it's always work in progress. It's not that's what we should continuously be building it. In the case of Kenya, and I would like to bring the security angle to them, this is where danger comes in. The case of Kenya in 2022 could just be a watershed moment for us, a much more dangerous time than 2007. If we continue with this kind of talks that we are hearing from political podiums and platforms, and there is no need for those kind of talks, because they harden feelings. People start doubting about the very democratic ideal that Kenya is working towards, and we shouldn't be going in that direction, Debal. There are components of democracy. One is stability, security. Without that, it's very difficult to have a democracy. For example, in Somalia today, Farmajo has signed a bill into an act of parliament that is going to be, they're going to engage in a universal suffrage. How can they? They cannot. It's almost impossible for one man, one vote in a divided, fractious society like Somalia, where there's so much trouble with security at the grassroots. It's not going to be possible. It's possible in Kenya, it's possible in Ethiopia, it's possible in areas that have stabilized, and therefore they can engage in a universal suffrage. And this is what we want to, I mean, Kenya, you have that universal suffrage, but it doesn't mean that it is you know, the best. You need educated societies. You need societies, individuals that can make up their minds. That's why we sometimes elect drug lords to lead our cities. Because we think the handouts that they give, whether it's 100 shillings or blankets to the slum dwellers, is something that people aspire for, and then they vote for them because of that, rather than their policies, Debal.
Right.
Well, Debal, I think that probably the easiest way for the public to understand the debate that we have, because we don't want to have a rarefied debate, because for the public, it's important for them to understand and be given, you know, to have a discussion with us instead of us giving them direction. So, Debal, maybe we should look at this thing from this point of view, from a secret society and an open society. So a secret society, Debal, is clandestine. It works within itself. It does not have any legitimacy. It has no moral compass, because the moral authority of governance is derived from the people. And this is an old concept. The question is whether we are being weighed down by the history of our ancestors in our history, not to clearly see where we should move to. And of course, my panelists are correct in saying that democracy is an experiment. And that's precisely why, Debal, we have this Building Bridges initiative. What we're saying, in a sense, what the Building Bridges initiative, so that the public understands why we have democratic government, is to say that we tested the first across the post system, and it failed the test of our ethnic divides. That's the first thing that we have to understand. Because, Debal, you know, when the colonial system came here, they divided me and Kagwanja here and my friend to the left, and then left us a time bomb of geography and ethnicity in this region and in Africa. So the responsibility of our first leaders was to do what Julius Nyerere had done in Tanzania, was to build a nation. We didn't build a nation, we decided to trade quickly. And the chickens are actually coming home to roost. The mistakes that we made in 1960, Debal, are being, today as we speak with the Building Bridges initiative, we're trying to go back to 1960 to fix that ideological dispute between Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and President Jomo Kenyatta. That division that day tore apart the nationalist fabric of this country, and we're paying for that decision up to today. The two sons of those two gentlemen have come back and have decided, oh, on that day, we messed it up. Can we try and go and fix that fabric that we tore apart and try and bring this nation together? And Debal, this is a very critical thing for us. If a government is the best form of democracy, is the best form of governance today, it doesn't mean that it is a good system. It is just better than a monarchy. It is just better than fascism. It is just better than authoritarianism. But we have to work to craft our own democracy. And this is why I've always said about that we should not look outside to go and find out what we should do. We should look inside ourselves to say, how are we going to fix these problems? How are we going to get the best out of our citizens? And what system is going to really help? And today, as we speak, Debal, and today as we debate these issues, the people of Kenya know what the problems of this country are. And they know. And that's why we have this process of seeking, how shall we try and fix their divides? What institutions should we create to represent us?
Thank you.
How do we bridge the gap between our economy, our ethnicity, our genders, our faith? You could see that the other day the deputy president said that this is a Christian nation. I mean, it's outrageous. These are the kinds of statements that leaders in this country should not say. We have our trouble trying to fix the ethnic differences we have. We anatupeleka mambo ya Syria.
All right, let's hear from Brigadier.
Well, Hashi has put very strong points forward, and in terms of trying to define what we call this system. And I want to see it from the angle of maybe the disciplined forces in terms of what you call that system. And to me, it's an institution where you have procedures, practices that you can count on. In fact, build on ideals and values that you all respect, and which, if you go contrary to, the actions are very severe. Where we have expectations, I look at you and I know how you will behave, and I expect that from you. So that the same token, if you give me a task, we can all tell the expectations, what will come out of it, because I'll deliver it with the highest degree of loyalty and integrity. And therefore, at any one time, we all trust and believe in each other. You can count on me, I count on you, we are buddies. And that system therefore becomes very strong, and it's built over time so that eventually it becomes a way of life, it becomes a practice. I can look at my boss and tell how he'll behave in certain situation. He can look at me and tell what to expect from me. The future is promising because we all look forward to a very bright and promising future. That I think what we are lacking. The ideals and values that we all aspire to, which we want to live with, and where we have a certain wrongs being done, we can all say that is wrong and deal with it squarely without running away from it. What we have now is a system where it is there. And I hope also for the BBI, it will bring something that can bring us together, that we can cherish and build on, something that, in the future, can build a future for us. I'm surprised myself because 10 years ago, we had the new constitution. There's a lot of hope in it, a lot of hope. How many 10 years, we're already adjusting it, looking at other means, ways to do it. We're not yet there to say this is what we have. I hope one day we'll have those ideas and values that we all cherish and live with and build a very promising and prosperous Kenya.
Nomi Damba.
Dibal, simply what my colleagues here, what the panel is saying, is democracy is a state, is an ideal state that everyone is aspiring to. All countries in the world, where there's Mao Zedong, where there's French Revolution, where the transformation of the British Commonwealth, where there's America, Jefferson, everyone, trying to reach that ideal state. How do you measure that ideal state? Ideal state is measured by individual citizen. Can I be able to work hard and get reward for my effort? Can I be able to own a home for my family and a piece of land? Can I be able to have a choice to send my children to my school of choice? Can I be able to access a medical facility based on the tax that I'm paying? That's what every citizen, every Kenyan is looking for. And therefore, let's not be camouflaged by this political side, so which say my ethnic group is losing, this and this is happening. Forget it. Let's focus on creating one Kenya, one nation, and a one goal.
All right.
Okay.
So let's wrap up on... yes, please. I'm saying let's wrap it up, but still I've not really understood how it percolates on business, what I'd asked before to the church. You've not, all of you answered my question. Maybe Erastus Manche will attempt to do it.
Okay. Maybe then, let's first of all then, as Mustafa did, continue to go granular on the word democracy. And I think the best part to start from is look at what the dictionary says. It says...
No, we've struggled with democracy. All of us.
Yes, but
we don't want to belabor the point.
That's where I want to start from. Because if you understand the meaning, then you can be able to build up. It says very clearly.
I think all of us were in agreement on the meaning. We're not disagreeing.
Okay.
Aren't we?
Yes.
All of us, we're not. Are we disagreeing?
No,
okay,
we're
fine. If you are in agreement,
yes.
then let me
because of
bring
time.
it here.
Yes, please.
Why is it very difficult in our system? Because if you look at even in mature democracy, the challenge has always been, how do you make sure that the entire population is represented in that system that you are building, the ideal that you are building? Now, here, this is where the challenge comes to our system. Because if you look at democracy, the way we build it here, and this is what Hashi said, we are on tribalism entities that have come together representing tribes. And that's why there's a challenge in Kenyan politics, because you come not representing certain ideology, you come representing your tribe. And so if you come representing your tribe, your values will always reflect and resonate with the tribe, because it's what sends you as a delegate, is what backs you. And so building a nation state is very challenging. And to build a nation state, and this is why it's important for us when we're talking of parliamentary system, because parliamentary system will still be, you know, the danger with it. You can still find the big tribes. If you look at the data that came out of the census, some 5 tribes constitute about 65% of population in Kenya. If those tribes then decide to come together and they say, okay, we are going now to form a coalition that will govern the country, then they will start challenging themselves. But what is the values within our and how do we bring the rest of the people? That's why a parliamentary system helps you to move faster towards democracy than presidential system. Because presidential, you always see yourself as individual. And all these factions are looped in to support a system that will give them a stake that will represent their values in that state.
Thank you. Peter Kagwanja?
Yeah, I think I want to be very quick and say that democracy is about responsibility. You vote, you choose, and you execute whatever it is that you are doing today. If you have an office you are occupying, you are also expected to make democracy work by enabling that office you are in to function. That's why one of the most celebrated quotes in the 20th century is by Stanley Baldwin, which is a British politician, which was quoted again and again by Churchill. And he says, and I quote, "Power without responsibility is the prerogative of the harlot throughout the ages." And that is the enemy of democracy. When you want to have power and you don't want to have responsibility. You want to say you are not in the system and you have motorcades, you have all the trappings of power behind you, and you want to say you don't have a system. That is what we are calling the prerogative of the harlot. And that is the trapping of the century. That is what Jaramogi Odinga avoided. That if I am criticizing the system, I step out. Because I cannot say the system when I am in.
Thank you.
Lastly, just before I leave.
We'll just release it. So maybe you can also give your closing remarks.
Yeah,
yes.
and the danger in the kind of a democratization that Kenya is moving towards will take us to perhaps an ethnocracy where you have one tribe or two tribes, you know, just a leading. We may want to engage in some kind of a consortio-sional model where you have some kind of elite pacting.
I agree.
But that's in societies that are fractious, that have been engaged in civil wars, like Lebanon and others. What we want to avoid by all means is some kind of an ethnic hegemony. Where you have, it's the kind of the tyranny of numbers, as one of the scholars put it. We want to avoid that because that leads to more conflict. The best is to have an inclusive community, that everybody, every community is going to feel secure. If BBI is really going to give us something good, then it is going to be an inclusive kind of a system. How that system is going to look like, Dibal is up to the scholars, political scientists, and others to talk about. I want to conclude by congratulating Matiang'i for taking steps to go to Villa Somalia in Mogadishu, to go and meet Abiy and to try and engage these leaders so that we can stabilize this region. I'm here to understand why it is Matiang'i that went to these places, but I think it's a very good thing. I would advise that I think we need to start speaking to this man, Mohamed Jawar. I think he's the one who's going to win the elections in Ethiopia. And we need to start talking to him and let us engage across the board to stabilize this region.
What polls are you running? Are you running any poll? What poll are you using?
No, I'm not running any poll. It's actually the sentiments. There are polls that are
the father of the revolution.
Let's not go with the sentiments. We want to talk about democracy, and of course, we know the outcome of democracy, as it were. We'll leave it at that. But we want to thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Dr. Mustafa is leaving for a lecture class right now, so we want just to relieve you. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you, Dibal.